how to make a song that is similar in comparison to Flamewall, or I would say something like Cyberdrive by Symphonic Elements. Let's start with the most important part, which would be the motif. What I tend to do is I go ahead and shift to like F sharp, C sharp, B, F sharp, E, C sharp, and I just keep changing the bass notes from F sharp to D, and then I just shift it later down in the track to something that's a little bit more intricate, say something like a So with this part, I went ahead and did all of these notes in the same exact key that it's in. There's not really much of a science here going on, but yeah, that's generally what you're going to want to do, is a little bit of a trill going up and down if you're going to want to do a little shred. Not only that, while you have the electro guitar going in different parts of the song, you go ahead and have like a little bass part playing. It'll be something like... This adds a little bit of a different flavor at every single section, even though the electric guitar is just doing the exact same. And for the electric guitar and the bass guitar and all of that, the specific contact library I used was Cabal 8. Another important part would be, as well as the electric guitar, would be the acoustic guitar. I went ahead and did the exact same sort of arrangement in the acoustic guitar, except I arranged it in a way that an acoustic guitar would be played. As in, for example, I just allowed for notes that could be held longer to be held longer by just extending the note length. Yeah, it adds a really nice sound. Go ahead and humanize this thing, add any more post-production that you need. I went ahead and turned most of this stuff off because you don't want an overproduced acoustic guitar. And the guitar I used was Ample Guitar Taylor. Another important tip for arranging stuff would be to make sure your note velocity, especially with real-life instrument, make sure the note velocity is handled a little bit. Of course, don't make the note velocities random. You'd have to make it some sort of high parts and low parts. Like for example, with this electric guitar, it goes ba-ba-na, instead of doing da-na-na-na-na, if that makes sense, you know? So at this very high part, it just opens up while the rest here are being held down by like a palm or something. In real term, you can see here in the velocity mark. But yeah, just make sure the velocities are switched up to make it sound almost human-like. Next, let's go into some of the sound design that I went ahead and did. So first of all, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and have some sort of pad in the background. What I did here was I added a little bit of a bass here. But yeah, this bass took a little bit of time to make. I just used Vital, Dune 3, and Serum. I went ahead and just post-produced all of it. It's just a saw, you know, and I went over to Dune. Same thing. As well as in Serum, I just did this, and I had a little bit of distortion, a phaser, and a compressor. I had automated the phaser. A lot of different stuff, and just added post-production. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I mean, there really is no real science to making a bass. It's just doing what sounds right. It's a really fat sub. What I did here was I just did Harmor. I made sure to go into the Timbre 1 harmonic level, and I did this, which simulates the exact same sub bass that I made in the last song, which if I can go ahead and show to you right now. If I went here, took a sub, and added some more harmonics. This is basically what I'm doing. You're just adding some harmonics. That's about it. It's the same sort of concept. And finally, with this would be the pad that I added in the background. So what I did here was I added 2 instances of Dune, then I added an OTT, Kirchhoff, Finisher Micro, which I used in the last song, added another instance of OTT, Fresh Air, Crystalline, which is a very nice reverb that I do highly recommend, and another EQ. So yeah, just take a super saw and go ahead and OTT the thing. Just add reverberation to it. Now with the more symphonic arrangement, I went ahead and did something like this. Yeah, so these are just contact libraries. I went ahead and grabbed a contact, put in, say, like a Metropolis Arc 1. This is a really good contact library, which has everything you need from horns, trumpets, whatever. And yeah, that's about it. Just make sure the velocity is edited as well as what I stated previously, so it's a little bit more humanized. And finally, one really cool element that I added to this song would be this little thing right here. Now these bells are best known on the internet as the Calamity bells, which you can hear in the Terraria Calamity mod. They're really nice primarily because they add so much dissonance. What I did here was I had a juicy SF plugin, which allows me to load sound banks, and the sound bank that this is known as is Toho Sound Font. If you look up Toho Sound Font anywhere and just download this free plugin called Juicy SF plugin, you'll be able to have this. It's just tubular bells. That's about it. I would also add in this violin part as well. Yeah, so in this particular section, I went ahead and chose a violin that was a little bit more in the background and not necessarily like a lead. You may or may not want to do this, but yeah, in some cases, having a violin as a lead or something like this can be a little bit of a mixing nightmare. This is just a Bitwig violin preset that I have, and honestly, Bitwig's violins are really good. Yet again, another reason for you to download Bitwig. Seriously, this is the superior DAW. I also went ahead and had this little violin part here as well to echo the past violin part. Yeah, this violin is just the Joshua Bell violin. It's a very, very good violin. One of the ones that I had in the background. Another thing that I had was these little spiccatos. Really the only way you can have a spiccato part in your song, which I learned pretty recently, is to have it arranged in a way like this. It has to be really short, but really tight. It can't be super dynamic, if that makes sense. Just chords like this, you know, arranged in this specific sort of way. And yeah, next we have the sound design parts. And I'll go ahead and link these presets down in the description below. They're 100% free to download. And by the way, you should totally join the Discord. I 100% answer all questions. I'm not hard to communicate with, and I'll answer any questions that you may have about sound design and music theory. Even though I myself don't have much experience in that just yet, I could possibly point you in the right direction. Now here we have this little part, which I'll show you right now. This is just a little growl that I made. Same sort of growl like what was made in the last song. Just two basses and a little sine wave, just a little bit of automation here and there, and post-production on the effects part. Yeah, that's about it. As well as this serum. Yeah, it's just basically another serum preset that I had. Just have a wavetable and a sine wave and a filter, hyperdimension, distortion, chorus, and compression. Yet again, some more experimentation. And then this weird bass. I went ahead and grabbed Vital I had a dispersed little saw. I went ahead and phase dispersed this. I had a wavetable, and then I went ahead and automated this little filter here with this LFO. Same here with I added a flanger, and the distortion part is key because I went ahead and automated the distortion filter to this LFO as well, and it adds that really squelchy sound. It sounds really interesting. It's definitely one of the basses of all time. And then this bass is the same sort of bass that I've been using for a while now. Just a chorus and compression. It's the same sort of idea with like a phase dispersed saw, and it's FM'd to another wavetable. Finally, these last few basses, this one is just from a sample pack. And same right here. Yeah, just layer a bunch of sounds from like sample packs, little glitches that you can make. Just record yourself just messing with a sound, make like really glitchy noises with it using like some sort of granulizer or whatever. And you can go ahead and cut it up in parts like this, and it'll make really cool basses that you could use in the future. Finally, some added little things here and there would be the drum arrangement. I'll go ahead and discuss how I made these little acoustic drum parts and whatever. Yeah, so this is basically just from a little sample pack I found online, the kicks and snares, but I went ahead and took the kit. What I did was I added a little bit of post-production because by itself it sounded super mono. I would saturate it a slight bit, and I would add a Shaper Box 3, added a pan filter just to have it be a little bit wider in the spectrum, not just be mono. And I added a wave shaper, which is basically the same thing as a saturation. Basically, what you're trying to do with saturation and kicks and snares is just have it as loud as possible and have the transient be as loud as possible without it sounding super distorted. Because you want a kick to be as fat as possible. You can see the transient fills out real nice. That's the sort of shape that we're going to want to have with a kick. Yeah, just saturate it, make sure it doesn't sound super distorted, but also make sure that it sounds nice and fat and looks good on a waveform. The best way to look at a waveform is to have wave candy. I also suggest that. It should be free, I think, somewhere in ImageLine. I'd have to look and check it out. But anyways, the same applies with the snare as well. You go ahead and check out the snare. EQs, wave shaper, saturation. Wave shaper is just a saturation. It's the same thing. It's just allowing you to shape it yourself. I just went ahead and took a recording from one of my friends. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to have like a real life thing. What you just need to have is like, I'm sure there's a contact library out there with the hi-hats and stuff like that, but just take that and add a little bit of panning to the right ear and left ear and make sure it just syncs with the rest of the drum arrangement. The little dubstep part, I also added this arrangement as well. Finally, some added touches. Make sure you always have some fade-ins going, because these are honestly super important for transferring the energy of the song. As well as adding in some cool little effects like this thunderstorm I added. Yeah, honestly, that is about it. This is not super hard to get once you fully understand how to follow the flow of things. There is not an exact science to making a track. You just need to follow some small rules that you eventually get with time. Yeah, that's about it. Please check out my Discord, because I'm trying to grow this thing. Also, please subscribe. I think 1% of my viewers are subscribed. So please, 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 I'm begging you, please. Okay, that's about it.